Vance Calder believed he had the arrest of the month. A luxury sedan with a broken taillight and a driver who did not fit his narrow idea of success. He ignored the calm warnings. He ignored the careful paperwork. He saw a trophy, not a human being. When he stepped into the courtroom the next day, the air left his lungs. The woman he had handcuffed, humiliated, and locked in a cell was not merely a suspect. She was the Honorable Judge Elena Hart. As she adjusted her robes and lifted her gavel, Vance understood that his life had changed forever. Rain fell hard across Seattle that night, hammering the asphalt until the highway shone like black glass. Judge Elena Hart kept both hands on the wheel of her charcoal gray Mercedes S-Class. She had bought the car as a quiet reward after 20 years on the bench. At 50-something, she carried the weight of countless decisions in the lines around her eyes, yet her posture remained straight. Traffic had thinned as she neared the suburbs. Then blue and red lights flared in her mirrors. She sighed, more tired than afraid, and eased the sedan onto the shoulder. The patrol car pulled in behind her, its spotlight slicing through the rain. Officer Vance Calder sat in his cruiser, engine idling. In his late 20s and a few years on the force, he chased action more than justice. The night had been quiet until now. He ran the plate through his mobile data terminal. The storm interfered with the signal. The screen flickered, then flashed a partial error before showing no record found. A glitch sometimes happened with newer custom plates. No record plus a luxury car in this weather meant stolen plates to him. Probably a runner, he muttered. He checked that his body camera was recording and stepped into the rain without his hat. He liked the look of a rain-slicked officer. Elena lowered her window a few inches. Cold air rushed in. "License and registration," Vance barked. No greeting. No explanation. Elena turned her head slowly. Her face was strong and composed, the face of a woman who had stared down dangerous men in courtrooms for years. "Good evening, officer," she said in a low, steady voice. "May I ask why you stopped me?" "I asked for your license and registration," he repeated, louder. He leaned in and shone his flashlight straight into her eyes. He saw a black woman in a silk blouse. The math did not add up in his mind. "Do you own this vehicle, ma'am?" "I do," Elena answered calmly. "The paperwork is in the glove compartment. I am reaching for it now." "Keep your hands where I can see them," Vance snapped. He stepped back and unfastened the retention strap on his holster. Elena paused. Her heart did not race. She had seen too much to panic, but a cold anger began to form. "Officer, I cannot reach the registration without moving my hands. Which would you prefer?" "Step out of the car," he ordered. "Now." "For a traffic stop?" she asked, brow furrowing. "I have rights, officer. Unless you are arresting me, I will remain in my vehicle." Vance's face flushed. He was not used to resistance. "I said get out. I have reason to believe this vehicle is stolen. The plates are not coming back clean. Step out, or I will drag you out." Elena studied him. She saw immaturity and a dangerous mix of authority and insecurity. She knew the law far better than he knew his own procedures. She also knew that even lawful resistance could end in violence, and that dead women cannot file complaints. Slowly, she unbuckled her seatbelt, opened the door, and stepped into the rain. Her heels sank into the muddy shoulder. "Turn around! Hands on the hood!" Vance shouted. He spun her and pushed her forward. "This is a mistake," Elena said, her face against the cold metal. "You are making a career-ending mistake, young man." Yeah, I hear that every night." He laughed. He grabbed her wrists, twisted them behind her back with unnecessary force, and ratcheted the cuffs shut. The sound cut through the rain. The back of the patrol car smelled of stale coffee. Elena sat on the hard plastic seat, hands numb in the cuffs. She watched the back of Vance's head as he drove and radioed his sergeant. "Got a female. Uncooperative. Vehicle came back no record. Likely stolen. Bringing her in for grand theft auto and resisting." Elena spoke from behind the cage. "The vehicle is not stolen. It was purchased recently at Mercedes-Benz of Linwood. The plates are custom. If you had run the VIN instead of relying on the plate, you would see that." Vance glanced at her in the mirror. "You know a lot about police procedure for a car thief." "I know the law," she replied, "and I know you failed to read me my rights." "I don't need to Mirandize you unless I'm interrogating you," he scoffed. "And I'm not asking questions. I'm telling you, you're going to jail." "Officer Calder," she said, reading his nameplate. "I am giving you one chance to correct this. Call your watch commander. Give them my name, Elena Estelle Hart." Vance turned up the radio and drowned her out with static and country music. He felt the rush of adrenaline. A luxury car impounded. A suspect in custody. This would look good on his review. At the precinct, he pulled her from the car. She stumbled once, then walked with her head high despite the rain-soaked blouse and the cuffs. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over the busy booking area. Sergeant Wyatt Tomlin looked up from the intake desk. He had decades on the job and had seen nearly everything. "What do you have, Calder?" Tomlin asked. "Grand theft auto, resisting, possible assault on an officer," Vance said. "She pulled away when I cuffed her." Elena stood silent. She knew words would not stop the machine now. She would wait for the right moment to use what she had gathered. Tomlin studied her. Something about her posture felt familiar. Most people looked at the floor or glared. She looked disappointed. "Name?" he asked. "Elena Estelle Hart," she answered clearly. Tomlin typed it in. He paused, hit enter again, and stared at the screen. His expression changed. "Calder," he said quietly. "Did you run her criminal history?" "System was glitchy in the car." "Why? She got warrants?" "No," Tomlin said slowly. "She doesn't have warrants." He did not say what else the screen showed. "Book her," Vance said. "I need to get back out there." "Fingerprints first," Tomlin replied, his eyes still on Elena. They took her prints and her mugshot. She complied without a word, filing every rough shove and dismissive comment away for later. When Vance asked if she wanted a phone call, she declined. "I'll wait until morning." He laughed and shoved her into the holding cell. The door clanged shut. Elena sat on the cold bench and closed her eyes. She was not thinking about the chill. She was thinking about the docket for the next day. She was scheduled to preside over arraignments. A small, knowing smile touched her lips. "See you in the morning, Officer Calder," she whispered. The next day, Vance sat in the break room nursing a Red Bull when his mentor, Sergeant Brock Whitaker, walked in. "Good haul last night," Whitaker said. "Yeah, grand theft auto. Classy ride? Driver acted like she owned the city," Vance bragged. "Well, you're up for arraignments today. Judge Hart is on the bench. She's tough. Make sure your paperwork is tight." "I'm good," Vance said. He showered, changed into his dress uniform, and drove to the King County Courthouse, rehearsing his story about officer safety and a combative suspect. The courtroom was crowded. Vance took a seat in the law enforcement row. When the bailiff called, "All rise," the room fell silent. The door behind the bench opened. Judge Elena Hart entered in flowing black robes. She moved with quiet authority, climbed the steps, and stood behind her chair. Her eyes swept the room and locked onto the police row. Vance's breath caught. It was the same woman, the same granite face, the same glasses he had seen in the Mercedes. The world tilted. Blood drained from his face. His knees weakened. He gripped the bench in front of him to stay upright. Judge Hart sat, adjusted her glasses, and looked directly at him. It was not anger. It was clinical recognition. "Be seated," she said in that same low, controlled voice. "Before we begin the regular docket, there is a matter of procedural irregularity from last night. Is the representative from the district attorney's office present?" A young prosecutor stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "And is Officer Vance Calder present?" The silence was absolute. Every head turned. Vance rose on shaking legs. "Present, Your Honor." "Speak up, officer," she said. "You had no trouble making yourself heard on the highway last night." Murmurs rippled through the room. "Approach the bench," she ordered. "Along with your sergeant if he is here." Vance walked the aisle, feeling every eye on him. At the bench, he could not meet her gaze. "Look at me, Officer Calder," she said softly. He forced his head up. "Do you recognize me?" "Yes, Your Honor," he whispered. "Last night you arrested a woman for driving a stolen vehicle. You claimed the plates were phantom. You claimed she resisted. You claimed she was a flight risk." Judge Hart leaned forward. "That vehicle sits in the impound lot. That woman spent the night in cell 3. That woman is sitting in this chair." The courtroom went still. "I didn't know," Vance pleaded. "The system said no record. And when I told you who I was, when you offered me the registration," she interrupted. "When I asked you to call your commander, you thought I was lying because I am a black woman in a luxury car." He had no answer. "Officer Calder," she continued, "you have not only violated my civil rights, you have demonstrated a gross incompetence that calls into question every arrest you have ever made. That is a matter for internal affairs. Sergeant Whitaker, step forward." The sergeant approached, suddenly far less confident. "Your officer booked a sitting judge into your precinct," she said. "Nobody checked the records. Nobody verified the identity. Is that how you run your house, Sergeant?" Before he could answer, she turned back to Vance. "Officer Calder, you are hereby remanded into the custody of the bailiff for contempt of court. I am also issuing a bench warrant for your arrest on charges of false imprisonment, assault under color of authority, and perjury in your police report." Vance's eyes widened. "You can't." "Not anymore," she said. She brought the gavel down. "Bailiff, take him into custody. Put him in cell 3. I believe he knows the way." He said the accommodations were sufficient. The bailiff, a man who had worked with Judge Hart for years, moved without hesitation. He cuffed Vance and led him away. The door to cell 3 slammed shut. Vance sat on the steel bench, knees bouncing. The cell smelled of mildew and old sweat. His own words from the night before echoed back at him. "It's not a Benz, but it's got a toilet." He squeezed his eyes shut, but the graffiti on the walls remained. From the next cell, a familiar voice laughed. It was Darius Henderson, a man Vance had once roughed up. "That you, Calder? Word travels fast. You bagged the Queen herself." Vance curled into the corner and covered his ears. Outside, the story spread quickly. A court reporter posted the exchange. A defense attorney leaked details to the Seattle Times. By midday, the hashtag was everywhere. That afternoon, Chief of Police Harlan Voss stood before cameras and announced that Officer Vance Calder was suspended without pay pending investigation. The department released the body camera footage immediately. The video showed everything: the rude tone, the unnecessary force, the click of the cuffs. Internet users enlarged a reflection in the cruiser window and discovered the truth. The mobile data terminal had auto-corrected the plate. It had clearly displayed Elena Hart, Judge, King County Superior Court. Vance had looked straight at the alert, swiped it away, and said, "Gotcha." He had ignored the truth because it did not fit the story he wanted. The Police Benevolent Association reviewed the footage and declined to fund his defense. Vance hired criminal defense attorney Arthur Kane, with money borrowed from his parents. Kane watched the body cam loop and shook his head. "You arrested her because she didn't fear you. Contempt of cop. Do you have any idea who you picked a fight with? Internal Affairs recommended termination and criminal charges. The district attorney charged Vance with false imprisonment, assault in the third degree, and official misconduct. At trial, the evidence was overwhelming. The IT technician displayed the mobile data terminal logs showing Vance had cleared the correct alert. When the state called Judge Elena Hart as its star witness, the courtroom fell silent. She walked to the stand in a tailored navy suit, swore the oath, and described the night with calm precision. "It was an interaction defined by assumption," she said. "Officer Calder approached my vehicle not with inquiry, but with conclusion. He had decided who I was before he saw my face. When reality conflicted with his prejudice, he chose violence over verification." She continued, her voice steady. "He was not afraid of physical harm. He was afraid of his own insignificance. He saw a black woman in a luxury car, and that image did not fit his idea of a law-abiding citizen. When I spoke with authority, it triggered a fragility in him. He needed to dominate the situation to feel valid. He was policing his own ego." Arthur Kane's cross-examination collapsed. The jury deliberated less than 2 hours and returned guilty verdicts on all counts. Judge Cyrus Pendleton, known for his severity, stared down at Vance. "You have disgraced your uniform. You treated a colleague of this court, and the very concept of justice, as a playground for your biases. I sentence you to 36 months in state prison and a lifetime revocation of your peace officer certification. You will never hold a badge again." The gavel fell. The bailiff cuffed Vance and led him away. In the front row, Elena Hart caught his eye for a moment. She gave a single slow nod, not of forgiveness, but of final acknowledgement, then turned back to her notes. In protective custody, Vance spent 23 hours a day in a 6-by-8-foot cell. Time rotted rather than passed. He developed rituals, pacing 3 steps forward and back, counting rivets, counting cracks. The sound of cuffs haunted his sleep. Months later, a plain envelope arrived from his fiancée. Inside was only a pawnshop receipt for the engagement ring and a short note. She could not be the wife of the man who had arrested the judge. He turned to the prison law library. For the first time, he truly understood Terry stops, probable cause, and the covenant he had sworn to uphold. He realized he had been a tyrant that night, not an officer. He served a portion of his sentence and was released on parole. The world outside had moved on without him. Seattle was off limits. He took a bus to Tacoma and found a small apartment near the port. Every job application was rejected. Security work was barred by law. Construction foremen recognized him and turned him away. Delivery companies flagged his record. The blue wall that once protected officers now kept him out. Desperation led him to a 24-hour gas station on the edge of Tacoma. The owner needed someone for the graveyard shift. Vance took it. One rainy night, the door chimed. A young black man in a sharp charcoal gray suit walked in. He bought water and a protein bar. When he looked at Vance, recognition dawned. "You're Calder. Vance Calder." Vance braced himself. "That was a long time ago." The man chuckled without anger. "You really don't remember me, do you? Andre Thompson. You arrested me years ago for talking back while I was skating. You slammed me against a wall and nearly cost me my scholarship." Vance gripped the counter. "I'm sorry. I was a different person." "Maybe," Andre said. "But you know who saved me? Elena Hart. She had just left the bench to start her legal clinic. She took my case pro bono, got the charges dropped, and had my record expunged. She told me not to let one small man with a badge define my life. So I became a civil rights attorney. I sue police departments now. I fight for kids who get slammed against walls." He slid a business card across the counter. "Andre Thompson, Esquire." "She saved me from you," he said quietly. And now look where we are. I'm heading to a strategy session for a class action lawsuit, and you're mopping the floor." Andre picked up his water and walked to the door. "Have a good night, Calder. Try not to miss any spots." The door chimed. Vance stood alone under the buzzing lights, Andre's card trembling in his hand. On the small television above the counter, a news anchor announced that President had nominated Elena Hart to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The camera showed her at the Rose Garden, serene and commanding in a cream suit, speaking about a justice system that values dignity over dominance. For a moment, Vance felt as if she were looking straight through the screen at him. He knew she was not. To her, he was simply a footnote, a pothole she had driven over long ago. That was the final punishment. He was not her enemy. He was nothing. Vance walked to the corner, picked up the mop, and dipped it into the gray water. He wrung it out and began pushing it across the linoleum, erasing footprints. "Dignity," he whispered to the empty store. Outside, rain continued to fall, washing the world clean while he remained inside, scrubbing the floors of the life he had built for himself. The story of Vance Calder and Judge Elena Hart stands as a stark reminder that authority without humility becomes a dangerous weapon. Vance believed the badge made him untouchable. He learned too late that true power rests in integrity, not intimidation. The real glitch was never in the computer. It was in his character. In the end, the woman he tried to diminish rose to the highest levels of the judiciary while he was left to scrub the floors of a society he once thought he owned. If this story moved you, please like it and share it with others who believe justice still matters. Subscribe for more stories of accountability and consequence. What would you have done if you were Judge Hart? Let me know in the comments below.